Alright, so let's talk about the bike some more. Okay, so I'm 6 foot tall. I weigh about 160 pounds. I touch flat-footed on this bike, no problem. The KTM 500 EXE, I cannot touch flat-footed on that bike. That's one of the ones that I've been researching and thinking about getting. The bike is too big for me. I'm gonna go take a look at the Beta 500. I got to see the 300 today when I was out at the trails. The 300 seat height was a little bit lower than the KTM 500. I was able to sit on that bike flat-footed. On the Beta, I was almost flat-footed. On this XT, hell, I'm damn near bending my knees on this thing. But anyway, let's talk about how this bike did today. I went with a bunch of guys. Again, I probably had the most skill level out of all the guys that went today. But they all had better dirt bikes. Typically I would have brought a four-wheeler. I wouldn't have brought a dirt bike. But man, let me tell you, them guys couldn't keep up with this 225 in the trails. They couldn't. Their bikes are too powerful. They sit up too high, and their skill level didn't match. It didn't match their bike. So what happened is, you put a really good rider on this bike, and you're not going to get tired. It's got electric start. It goes plenty fast in the woods. You can ride it there. You can ride it back. I mean, the only thing I could ask for out of this machine is more power. I mean, if this thing was like 450 power, oh man, and the 6-speed gearbox, I mean, it's got that 6-speed gearbox. I mean, there's many times I'm looking down, I'm going 30 to 50 miles an hour riding this thing around in the dirt. And, if you had a 450, I mean, and it was this size, oh man, I think you could go easily 60 and 70 miles an hour in a lot of spots. And that's what some of the bigger bikes can do. But again, seeing them try to do these really technical trails that we were at today was pretty funny, to see this. I mean, let's face it, this is like an $800 motorcycle, and I flat out dominated all them guys. Most of them packed up and went home early. I did not want to come home, and I was not done riding for the day, and I figured I'd shoot this video and talk about this bike, because I bet you all them guys there wanted this bike today. I mean, everybody made fun of it, oh, you're not going to be able to do nothing with that little tire. You're not going to be able to do nothing with that little tire there. These tires are worn out. And they were saying I was going to get stuck, and I was going to, this and that, and wasn't going to be able to climb the hills. Well, guess what? I was climbing every single hill. I get to the top, and them guys are stuck at the bottom, asking me to come back down, or, whatever. And I expected to get left in the trails, lost, left behind, and in all actuality, I was leading and passing guys, and it really showed me that it has more to do with the rider than the bike. And don't discount these cheap, smaller motorcycles, man. This thing was more fun to ride than just about anything that I've rode in quite some time. I mean, I've rode KX 500s, all that stuff. Yeah, they're fun to do wheelies on, but that's one thing that this thing, I wish it had a little bit more power for wheelies, but I mean, it will do a wheelie, you know what I mean? And its ability to go through the trails today was it's just idling around, and it was just really smooth. And I even got it on the motocross track today, and was able to keep up with the guys. I even jumped some doubles and a couple tabletops with it, and some guys were asking me, what the hell is that thing? because no one sees an enduro ramping with mirrors and a license plate at the motocross. Usually track that often, so it was pretty fun. You know, it made me want to bike again. I haven't, you know, like I said, I ride 3-wheelers and 4-wheelers. I don't think it's as fast. I don't think dirt bikes are as fast in the woods as a 4-wheeler or 3-wheeler. I just don't think that they can steer as well, but they sure are fun, man. And you can go in some tight areas a 4-wheeler and 3-wheeler can't. And believe it or not, this thing was going all the way past the foot pegs in mud and water today, and it didn't seem to slow down a bit. And I don't know, the 450 guys were staying away from the water puddles today. This thing runs like, it kind of reminds me of like a it reminds me of a 4-wheeler type motor. You know what I mean? I don't know if I'm explaining that right, but it's like utilitarian. It's like a utility quad engine that has a 6 gear, and since it's so light, it has some, you know, it's not as heavy as a 4-wheeler of that size. You know, if you had a 250 4-wheeler, it would probably weigh a lot more than this. It'd probably weigh closer to 400 pounds. I think this thing weighs like around 300 pounds, and it might even weigh less than that. And it's just fun to ride. It really lugs around. It chugs. It's very cheap. You know, the brakes seem to work great today. No complaints except for no lack of power. I mean, if this thing was a 450, you know, it'd be awesome. You know, and another thing that's awesome about this bike is I think it has like 3,000 mile oil change intervals and 25,000 mile valve adjustments and stuff. I mean, this thing just runs forever. It was a little hot. You know, I could feel the heat riding it today, but you know, especially on that exhaust side, it's pretty close to your leg there. I mean, especially for a bigger guy. I mean, like I said, I'm 6 foot tall, so I am. I'll stand on it. You can see I'm 6 foot, and my knees are bent. You know, if I stand up on it, I'm not touching the seat. So it does sit lower. I had it going 55 miles an hour in the dirt all the time. I beat a KX 125 in a drag race. I was really surprised by that. I'd never thought this bike would beat a KX 125, especially repeatedly, over and over and over again, on some hard packed dirt drag strip. It dominated everything. I mean, not everything, but I mean, it dominated that KX 125, which was surprising. You would think a KX 125 would have just put a hurting on this. Maybe he didn't know how to ride it, but I mean, I could hear it. He had it wrapped up in the power band, so it was moving, but I was ahead of him. So one of the guys that we rode with had a CRF 250. It was like an 08 model that just got a fresh rebuild. He was faster than this bike, but by about 2 bike lengths, which, you know, I thought it would have been more than that. This thing's surprisingly quick. I mean, I did not expect what happened with this bike today. So I had to make a video because this thing is just amazing for what it is. I mean, this is like 1990s technology, maybe even older than that, like 1980s technology. And it works great. And it's cheap. And if you're thinking about getting one of these cheaper little motorcycles, and I'm telling you right now, if you go get an XR 650 and you're 6 foot tall and you're 150 pounds, it's going to kill you in the woods. And if you lay it over, you're going to be worn out. And it don't come with handles on it and all this other stuff, you know. So I'm just saying this XR 650 would be nice, and that was one of the bikes I was looking at. But man, after riding in the woods all day, and after seeing a couple guys on them XR 650s today, they looked pretty tired. They were parking a lot, and I don't know. I think that I think it's a real tough call. I mean, you should really give these 250s a look, because the 450s and up, I mean, the maintenance schedule's out the wazoo. You know it. You're going to be adjusting valves. You're going to blow it up in the first 2 years. You know you're going to blow it up. And that's kind of where I'm at. I don't want to blow up a 10 grand motorcycle. You know what I mean? And like all the race 450 dirt bikes I've had, they all blow up. They always do. And I'd say you'd have a hard time blowing this thing up, really. I mean, I'm sure you can, but you change the oil in it and just ride it. I don't think you're really going to blow it up, you know? So I wish I could come up with some other stuff. I wanted to keep this video short and brief, but you know, I'm not a Yamaha dealer. I don't care if it's a Yamaha. I don't care who makes this thing. I don't care if it was a Chinese brand. You know, it doesn't matter. What matters is that it's cheap and it did really good today. And there was guys there on 10 grand motorcycles not having a fun time. And they also had to kick their bikes. And this thing's got electric start. And man, it never got stuck. I never got stuck. There was no hill I couldn't climb. And the guys that I went with couldn't even follow me and keep up. They couldn't even climb the hills I was climbing. So we came home early. There was a lot of bruised egos, and I doubt they'll be inviting me back. But you know what? It showed me that this is a very capable motorcycle, and maybe I might consider looking at getting one of these, or maybe a WR250, or there was a one of those CR250 deals there today, one of the only other enduros there today, and we got a chance to drag race. And believe it or not, that fuel injected Honda 250L or whatever it is, it's not much faster than this bike at all. Like, and it was brand new, guys. Like, it still had the green line on the tire, and it looked like he just pulled the plastic off the tank. You know what I mean? It was brand new. And he only had me by, seriously, a half a bike length. And he had brand new tires and this and that. So, again, maybe he couldn't ride, but it looked like he could ride. He was riding some wheelies on it today. So, is it better than the 250 Honda? I don't know. I didn't get to ride it. But it looked like a hell of a lot more expensive bike than this $800 gets you down the trail, down the street, does everything, Swiss Army knife motorcycle. I mean, this thing is just cool. It's really cool. And I'm pretty much up between this, the DRZ, and the Beta 500. And the Beta 500 looks like a great bike, but it's really expensive, and it's got a real high maintenance level. And I don't know how good that big bike's going to do in the trails compared to something like this, guys. I mean, if you're just wanting to putt around the trails, that's the bike to get. If you're wanting to haul ass like a motocross man, you better know what you're doing, because you're going to get in trouble on a 450 or even a 300 two-stroke quick in the woods if you can't ride. So I'm just telling you right now, if you have no skills, this bike is going to be more than enough. More than enough. I mean, if you've never rode a motorcycle before and you're thinking about getting an enduro, and you're going to go get that, you know, that KTM Enduro 690R, you're not going to enjoy riding. You're not going to enjoy riding a bike. You're going to wreck it. You're going to break it. It's going to be heavier than shit, and you're not going to enjoy yourself except on pavement. And this bike, if you don't have any skills, you can take this on the pavement, and if it falls over, you're going to be able to pick it up. You're going to be able to ride it. It's not going to flip out from underneath you from having too much power. This is sweet. Now, if you're a pro racer and been riding for 10 years, you still might want one just to ride it hard, because it's just fun. Well, let me know what you think.